When playing football, your friend kicks the ball really hard and it hits your head. Now the football is not as heavy as a metal block, but the force with which it was kicked will surely hurt you. We know that the brain is located in the head, and in the previous video, we could understand that it is an extremely crucial organ which rules the body. Thus, it needs utmost protection even from the slightest injury. So, what would happen in this case? Can we allow the football or an external object to damage our brain easily? Of course not. So what do we do? You may start wearing helmets or protection gear as we do in several other games. Maybe you are right. But can we stop the unexpected accidents that occur in our lives even when we are not indulging in any game? Well, some of these would include falling over our heads or maybe banging our heads on sharp, edgy surfaces. In all these incidences, our brain can suffer utmost damage. And obviously, we can't keep wearing artificial helmets all day long. What's the solution then? Well, our body has its own natural helmet also to protect the brain from such unexpected incidences. This natural helmet is also quite strong and is made up of series of layers. Let's have a look at these. Firstly, we have the scalp or the layer of skin having hair as well. Then comes the actual helmet, which is tough and strong, called the cranium. Cranium is basically a part of the skull that together comprises of almost 8 bones. Cranium protects the brain by covering most of its area. Below the cranium, maybe we could have had the brain directly, but our body is completely dedicated to protect it even from the minor mechanical shocks. That is why after the cranium, we have a layer of cushion in between. This is called the meninges. Why a plural word to indicate one layer? Well, this is because this single layer is further composed of 3 major sublayers. These layers in series from outside to inside are named as dura mater, arachnoid mater and pia mater. Dura, arachnoid and pia. What are their functions exactly? The dura mater is close to the cranium and is comparatively stronger. Being made up of mostly fibers, it is the toughest of the 3. Next comes the arachnoid mater, which appears to be a mesh-like layer. It is also composed of fibers, but in a loose fashion along with cells present in between. And hence it appears to be like a spider's web. Its major function is to provide cushioning to the brain. Lastly, we have the pia mater, which is the closest to the brain. In fact, it adheres to the brain firmly. Now, being the nearest, its major function is to always pamper the brain, and that is why you will always find blood capillaries piercing the pia mater. Thus, the brain gets all its nutrition and blood supply thanks to the pia mater. Wait a second. Are you able to notice a gap between the arachnoid and the pia mater? Well, yes. There is actually a small gap between the two. And this is filled by the cerebrospinal fluid, abbreviated as CSF. The major function of the CSF includes serving as a shock absorber. Yes, it functions as a shock absorber for the delicate tissues of the brain. Also, it helps in circulating blood and nutrients, throwing out waste products and keeping the brain moist. Apart from this, the CSF also forms an immunological barrier around the brain, keeping it safe and protected from various infectious agents. Well, if these are the layers protecting the brain, what would protect the spinal cord then? Well, analogous to the cranium, we have the vertebral column. That's it. And the layers of meninges and CSF remain almost the same. With slight modifications in their shapes, these layers protect and nourish the spinal cord equally well. Okay, one more thing you should know about. Knowing that the cranium is strong doesn't mean we are not supposed to wear protective gear while driving or playing. So wear your helmets and be safe. Now we have learned about the brain, its structure and functions, along with the protection that it has. Let's move ahead to learn how everything in our body actually works. How actions are performed, how impulses are carried further, and so on. See you in the next video.